I am going to go ahead and show you the proposal I have put together for the Florida State Educational Board regarding some changes I would like to see happen with a movement from standardized testing over into a system that I believe will help is assessment-based learning. Let me go ahead and start here. What we currently have in place is standardized testing. This all started back when in 2002 we introduced the No Child Left Behind law, which was meant to be something that would help students who have a hard time learning, students who maybe came to this country with a different primary language other than English, students who tend to fall behind due to learning disorders and that kind of thing. So this law introduced standardized testing and standardized teaching, which causes a teacher to teach to a specific set of rules, a specific set of standards, instead of allowing the teacher to freely teach what they think would best suit each student. Although this law was set into place to help, I believe there's some cons that came along with it. Not that the law is flawed, but the way that we go about it, I believe, is something that we could change, and that's what I wanted to go ahead and talk about today. Some consequences of standardized testing, which has been brought upon us due to the No Child Left Behind law, is that it causes for students to think within the box instead of being made to learn that there are other options out there and that they can learn through different processes. They're made to think that answers are only black and white. There's only one way into a question and one way out of it. They're taught to a test and how to pull answers out of context instead of devising their own scheme and coming up with a new way to get to that answer. And then the cons for teachers as well as schools is that they are graded and their funding is based off of these testing. So whether the students do well or don't do well, the teacher and the school suffer from it. So that kind of takes away from the teacher their willingness to teach, because they're feeling like they need to get their students to pass the test so that they can make a specific paycheck, which is hindering our school system here, because we're not teaching our students anymore, we're just giving them answers. So a way that I think that we can go about fixing that is through assessment-based learning. So this is a group of assessments that are not taken in the same context as the standardized testing, where it's fill in the blank or pick a letter choice. Assessment-based learning is something that is done interactively, one-on-one with teacher and student, where there are several cases of questions asked to the student, but it's not done in a setting where they feel like they are being tested. For example, there are several reading assessments done in younger grades where a student is given a passage and asked to read it out loud, where the teacher goes through and marks off the words that they got correct, the words that they maybe missed, the ones they went back and got. But they do this in an encouraging way where the student doesn't feel as if they're being tested, where if they get one wrong, the teacher is always moving so they don't know that they got it wrong, and it's not made public to the rest of the students. And this is really good because it gives the teacher the opportunity to learn where the student is at and see how they can go ahead and improve on that, and tell where each student in their classroom has needs at, and this better prepares the teacher to go ahead and put together a better assessment for each student and a learning path for them. The beginning of the year assessment is going to be taken from the end of the previous year's assessment. So say if I'm a first grade student, my beginning of the year assessment would be my kindergarten end of year assessment, so that the teacher can go ahead and benchmark where that student is and see where they lie within the information that they should know, see where they need to grow, and help that teacher put together a specialized path of learning for that student. And this is really good because whereas our standardized testing is only done once a year, this assessment-based testing is done 3 times, and it can be done more than that, but within that specific set of time, it's done 3 times, once in in the beginning, once in the middle, and once at the end. The beginning assessment, like I already mentioned, is really good to see where the student is, benchmarking. And then the middle assessment would be good to see where the teacher has helped that student grow, as well as where they need to focus their attention at next. And then this assessment could be something that has a collectiveness of the beginning of the time to where it is now, or throughout that whole semester. It's up to the teacher where they want to put that assessment at, but it'll definitely help them see where their progress has been made and where the teacher needs to adjust their learning curve for that student. And then the end of the year assessment or end of term assessment is good for telling the teacher how far that student progressed, how effective their instruction was, which is way better for the teacher as far as their pay grade goes, because as of right now, the standardized testing puts restrictions on teachers as far as how their students do on their standardized test, which is only taken one time a year. So if you don't know that your teaching isn't working for a specific student, you don't know that until the end of the year, whereas in assessment-based testing, you'll learn this as you're going through and you can adjust your teaching to each student. So I think that will positively affect those students and teachers both alike. And then I believe that a good way to go ahead and implement this is to do it in the same year that you would have your regular standardized testing going anyways. And I would just go ahead and do it at the beginning of the semester. So like I said, normally this would be done year long, but in this case, you could do it a semester long, just as a trial period for that semester. And then during the second half of the semester, students are still learning, still getting all of the information that they need, and they can take that state-issued standardized test at the end of the year, so that you can compare both testing and see which one works best for you. So I would go ahead and at the beginning of the first semester, do that base assessment, see where each student is, individualize their learning tracks, and then in the middle of that semester, see where they're at, see where they need to go, how effective your teaching is, and then at the end of the semester, towards Christmas time, go ahead and assess everything that they have learned so far, see where they have grown, see how effective your teaching was, and get all of those results, and then second semester be focused on that standardized test, as they would be anyways. Get the results from that standardized test at the end of the year, and then compare those and see which would be a better learning curve for you. So that would be my proposal, and I hope you enjoyed.